Hi, I'm Danny Johnson. Welcome to the Danny Johnson Show. Thanks so much for joining us. Hey, this is a very special week. This is a week like we've never done before, but I think that it's going to be a week that is going to be so powerful for you. This week, the week of Hanukkah, the time of dedication, is dedicated to remembering the time of miracles that have happened inside of our lives. Yesterday, I shared with you a very very transparent, had a really good opportunity being severely judged, and probably was, but I shared with you a really powerful miracle that happened in my life to inspire you, to refresh you, to even redirect you, because there's something that happens really powerfully when you believe, when you choose to believe. And I don't even care what you believe in. The fact that you believe in something causes the something to actually start to manifest itself inside of your life. And so today, typically on this day of the week, we like to talk about, things that have to do with business. And so anyway, I want to talk to you about some desires of the heart. The best success book ever written says that if you diligently seek Him, you will have the desires of your heart. And so the key is deciphering what are the desires of your heart. So I had a desire in my heart that just seemed absolutely impossible. Now, you might not relate to the desire that was in my heart, but it was a miracle about how it actually came to pass. And so I want you to think about maybe what some desires of your heart is. What is in you? You know what I mean? It's it's something that is a dream that you have, something that could be even impossible, that you think there's just no way, it's never going to happen. I'm not qualified. I'm not good enough. And that's exactly where I found myself about 21 years ago. You see, I had been in business for a lot of years and the story, I was a homeless woman who started a business from the trunk of my car at a payphone booth. And my God is the one who told me to do this, told me to pick up my mat and walk. And then bam, right? I make $250,000 the very first year. Now, I've been teaching people how to make money in the marketplace out of absolutely nothing. Hundreds and thousands of people have learned these skills that now have businesses or have climbed up in their corporate structure and have become far more successful than if they had not encountered all of our training and development. And so I've been doing that for 28 years. For 28 years, I've been training. Lord have mercy. Oh my gosh, it's more than that. It's 30 years. 30 years that I've been, wow. Anyway, come back, squirrel. Anyway, so here's the deal. So I had spent the first decade of my business career and we had made lots of money, millions of dollars, okay? And we did what a lot of people do. We spent it all. And I came to a place in my business career where I just was so empty. I was really, really, really empty and just felt like there wasn't much purpose to what I was doing, that it had what difference am I making in the world at that time? And I just became really discouraged. And I also allowed gossip to cause me to retire. In all reality, I allowed somebody's false accusation who was a great promoter. You take a great promoter who likes to lie and they create false accusations. You take a great promoter who is jealous of somebody else's success, they create false accusations. And so she was an amazing promoter, somebody that I had trained up, somebody that had no success in a business, and then bam, she followed the system that I gave her. She was at First Steps every single event, had no less than 10 brand new people in front of me. You're like, what are you talking about? It's okay, I'm sorry. Somebody knows what I'm talking about. So she was taking advantage of our training seminars and bringing people along. And so together we helped to build her a dynamic business, made $125,000 her first year on a part-time basis, paid off $60,000 worth of debt. And what happens a lot of times in some cases is that sometimes when you're training somebody, they all of a sudden think they're better than the teacher. They think they're better than their leader. And that's happened a lot. I did that early on in my career. I thought I was better than the millionaire that was teaching me. Idiot. So stupid. And I paid the price for that. So then, my attitude towards him then eventually came back on me, that I had other people that, did the same thing to me, which was terrible and very painful. So, but again, I sowed it, therefore I reaped it. So the desire of my heart, so after I had come to this place in my career where it just, gosh, it was like everything was just about making money, and I was just like so unfulfilling for me. Okay, we had the big houses, we had the cars, we had the jewelry, we had everything, and yet I was so empty and I was so fulfilled. And so I allowed false accusations that had happened, and the major stabbing of the back, and this huge division that happened inside of our business. And I just went, forget it. It's just not worth it. This sucks. I don't want to do this. I'm out of here, right? And so I took the first opportunity to leave. And the fact was I was pregnant with baby number 5, and I'm like, I'm going to retire. We're totally financially set. I don't need to work. I'm going to focus on being a mom. Oh my gosh. That even took me to a whole nother place of like even deeper depression. So now here I am, and I'm in this 4-year period of this retirement. More like hiding, really. I have a garden. I'm rolling out fresh pasta every week, making bread every day, folding 15 pairs of chonies every day. Okay, so frustrated, so sad, so depressed. I felt even less of a purpose, right? So here I'm thinking, I want to do something purpose. I'm going to be a mom. And I was a full-time mom already. I was only working 20 hours a week when I was working my business. But now here I'm like 100% full-time mother. Oh my gosh. Thought I was going to kill everybody, including myself. So friend, here's what happened. I had this desire that, man, and this is what I told God. God, if I can't tell the truth about you, and this is part of what took me to the place of retirement, if I can't tell the truth about you, and if I cannot freely tell the truth about where our church, like as a whole, is today, and if I can't tell the truth about money, then I'm not going to use my mouth for anything. And I like put duct tape on my mouth, and I'm like, that's it. I had such a deep desire to share my faith with people. And I had such a deep desire to share what the Bible talked about money, kind of like poking the big hole in the giant facade of the two types of teaching concerning money that there was. There was like the lottery mentality, which was like name it and claim it and sit on your butt and do nothing, just believe. Such nonsense. That's not the Bible. That's one scripture, but that's not the whole Bible concerning money and believing and being able to receive what you believe in. It requires action, not sitting on your butt waiting for something to fall out of the sky. And then the other side that talks a lot about poverty. It's wrong to have money, right? And as I studied the scriptures, like, that's just not true. Okay? The love of money is bad. That's evil. It's idolatry. It's greed. It's gluttony. However, the Bible is mostly positive about it. There's warnings about it, which we need to heed to those warnings. But Deuteronomy 8:18 that says, it is I who have given you the power to create wealth. What do you do with that? Abraham, rich man. Isaac, rich man. Jacob, rich man. David, rich man. I mean, Solomon, richest man that ever lived on the earth. So here, I would see these two different messages that were coming from the pulpit, and it would just like make me burn with anger. It's like, you're not teaching the whole Bible, man. You're like controlling people with manipulation and guilt, and or you're controlling people with trying to get more money out of their offering for you to build your $1 million house. Like, so it just infuriated me. It absolutely infuriated me. So during that time, I'm telling you, in prayer, I'd spend several hours in prayer and reading my Bible whenever the kids were taking their nap. It'd be like, my God, like, use me. I remember just crying out, use me, Father, please. And I would confess to him, I know I'm not qualified. I know I'm not good enough. I know I don't know enough about the Bible. I know I haven't gone to seminary. I know. And I would just give this list of things. Okay, I know. There's no way I could ever teach the Bible because I'm a former whore. I'm a whore. So because I'd slept around with so many people, because I was a former homeless woman, because I was a former druggie, because I was a former debt-filled, ridiculous person. Do you understand what I'm saying? So to me, I had my long list of dequalifications. Huge amount. Okay, I was given up for adoption. I gave my baby up for adoption. Are you hearing me? So here's my long list of all my failures. And for some reason, I got into my head that in order for me to share what God had done in my life, in order for me to have the freedom to teach what he had taught me, that somehow I had to be perfect. I had to be perfect. I'm not qualified because I'm not perfect. So I thought I would never be holy enough. I would never be pure enough. I would never be righteous enough. I would never be good enough to be able to share this burning, deep desire inside of me to be bold in my business, to be bold with my faith in the marketplace. that somehow that I could never do that. And the church would never let me step up and speak, which was true, okay, at that time. Just no way. No. So I just remember crying out again and again and again to him. And the crazy thing is that during this time of this retirement, I completely believed wholeheartedly that I would never speak again. Never. I had a speaking career for 10 years when I retired. Thousands and thousands of people's lives had been changed and affected. I had led thousands of people to my God, but yet still felt controlled by the confinement of the business structure, and that I was like, if I talk about it, I could lose people. I'm going to lose customers if I do that. So I'm like, done. I just want the freedom to just talk and share and to train up and mobilize the people of God to boldly succeed in the marketplace, to mobilize and train up and release people to go and be all that God designed them to be, not according to the religious structure that we all have in our head, but to be bold and to be free, true freedom in their life, to live it out. So I believe so wholeheartedly that would never happen. I actually sold some of my old suits that I had that I used to wear when I had that business when I was speaking. I actually burned even intellectual property, which was what? My notes that I used to teach from. I burned that stuff. I was like, it's over. I even sold some jewelry. I just got rid of it. I'm a mom now. I make bread, roll out pasta, make pies. That's what I am. That's all I'm ever going to be. Well, God began to speak. In a really dark time, in a deep depression, where I had completely convinced myself that there was no way and it was never going to happen, but yet this burning desire was there. All of a sudden, my girlfriend invites me out to a youth conference, and it's in San Francisco. I'm like, sure, why not? Yeah, I'll get away from the house and I'll go be with all these teenagers, right? And it was huge. It was huge. It was in Candlestick Park, and there's lots of different messaging, whatever. But as I was heading into San Francisco, which happened to be a place that I had done, I don't know, probably 50 First Steps to Success seminars, at least 50 of them, right in San Francisco. And I'm driving with my girlfriend, Mona, and we're driving through on the Bay Bridge. If you've never seen the Bay Bridge, it's beautiful. You got to go see it. You got to see San Francisco. It's an amazing place. And all of a sudden, I have this open vision. Again, I am depressed. I am disqualified. I have this burning desire that I just know is never going to happen. I've given up completely. The seed of my vision is dead. It's just so dead. I'm like, this is the rest of my life, changing diapers, dealing with throw up, right? Just, So I'm driving, and all of a sudden I'm driving, and I have this open vision, and I see all these faces and these people that had been affected by First Steps in those 10 years that I was running that seminar that I had been retired from for 4 years. And I began to see all of these different stories that I had just convinced myself were not real, meaning the stories of my clients, right? The Brian Niederhaus story, the Kristen Niederhaus story, of which I led both of them to their God. There's just tons of them. Dawn and Jen, all of these people that were my clients for all of these years that I just convinced it was all of a facade, none of it was real, none of it matters. And so I begin to see these faces. Then we get to this restaurant, and it was one of my favorite restaurants there, and I took Mona there, and all of a sudden I have this open vision, and I see Erica as a little baby, and now at this point she's a teenager. I see Erica as a little baby crawling all over the floor because we had been in that restaurant before with all of my team and some of my staff, and just celebrating what we had accomplished together. All these things I forgot about, all these things I convinced myself were over, never going to happen again. So through that conference, God began to open up my heart, and I began to get the desire to speak again. And it required to step out in faith. And I told Mona, and she had never known this. And for 4 years we were friends, but she never knew this about me. I said, I got to tell you something. I got to tell you what I used to do prior to you and I being friends. So I told her, she's like, wow, dang, I thought you were just the yard duty mom. I am just the yard duty mom, but this is what we've done. And I began to share with her, I feel this stirring inside of me. We lock ourselves into a cabin. And she says, okay, so if you could do First Steps to Success again, whatever that seminar is that you're talking about, how would you do it? And I began to write it out that if I was free to share my faith, if I was free to be bold, if I was free to equip people to succeed wildly in the marketplace, what would that event look like? And there it was. We're locked up, snowed in, and I'm writing. I step out. Hans goes on this business trip, and he invites me to come along with him. I'm like, yeah, sure, get me out of the house. We go down to San Diego to this business trip. I have no idea how this thing is going to work itself out. Like, who am I going to do this for? How are we going to do this? And so we go to this business conference that he was invited to, and I get introduced to somebody who's making about $400,000 a month at that time. He is a internet marketer. He was doing amazing, and some major thing happened. There was this connection. He's like, "You're Danny Johnson?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "I've heard about you." I'm like, "Really?" Oh, like, what have you heard about me, right? I always get nervous when people say that. I've heard about you. Like, oh, really? Yeah, I heard you did, da-da-da. And he's like, I heard you broke records in such and such company. I heard you built this, blah, 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 blah. So he just starts telling, I know your story. He says, is there any way you'd be open to, for consultation? And I said, yeah, sure. So here he's offering to hire me as a business consultant for his business. And he invites me then to this brainstorm of the meeting of the minds of a bunch of business people. The long story short is that some major tragedy actually happened with his business. And the FTC and the FDA shut them down, or froze all of their accounts, all of this stuff. So now he has a tremendous amount of product that he has no idea how he's going to move it. And he also has a sales force that has a tremendous amount of product, and they don't know how they're going to move it. So he hires me and says, can I hire you to do whatever it was that you did to break all those records with your training seminars? Whatever it is that you did to build the largest sales force ever in the history of a $2 billion company and the fastest growing organization ever in the history of a $2 billion company, can you please come and do that with us? I'm like, okay. So there was the door. So look, God begins to stir it. He takes the scales off my eyes, miracle for those scales, for my hardened heart to be softened. He then reminds me of what he had done, the miracles he had done in my life. He stirred the desire inside of my heart. He then strategically places me. I think I'm going on a little trip with my husband, that I get to stay in a hotel room with him versus having the kids on me 24/7, right? Or not 24/7, but you know what I'm saying, right? I think I'm just like escaping my reality for a couple of days, and bam, here's this miraculous divine appointment that the guy happens to know my name, happens to know what my track record is, and happens to say, hey, could I have you consult me? He wanted to start a new company, wanted to find a new product line, and knew I had experience in doing that. So yeah, I went and met with manufacturers with him. The list goes on of all the things, the whole structure that we were putting together. So I do the first steps to success after 4 years being retired for a completely different company. I had been contracted privately, only doing first steps with one particular organization. I walked away from that, and now it was, wow, now we're in the general marketplace. 2 weeks later, so after that first one, he's like, Danny, can you come to North Carolina? I've got some people I need you to do this training seminar over there for. I'm like, okay. 2 weeks later. Okay, so we started in Carlsbad, August 23rd of 2003. 2 weeks later, so now we're in the first week in September. We are in North Carolina, which is where we recorded live in North Carolina, 6 figures in 6 months. It's a product that's been on our website for 15 years. 2 weeks later, I'm now in Sacramento, and the list goes on. And so here came it birth. Here God planted the desire, and how he did these crazy miracles of making this connection, that this connection then put me in front of a group of people. Those people then eventually dispersed into lots of different places and brought DannyJohnson.com with them. So I don't know what the desire of your heart is, but here's what I do know. If you don't serve the God I serve, you're missing out, friend. You're like so missing out. And if you are not being real, if you are serving the God I serve, and you're not believing for miracles with him and your walk with him and your relationship with him, then friend, you're missing it. You're not serving him. You see, faith requires action. And as much as I was so low and I was depressed and thinking it was never going to happen, I would confess that stuff to him and say, I got this desire. I want to speak freely about this. I want to not be afraid to share my faith. I want to not be afraid that I'm going to lose money or I'm going to lose friends if I am bold with what is so deeply important to me. And what did he do? He opened the door after door after door after door. And there we were in North Carolina. There is Mona and I till 2:30 in the morning praying for every single person leading. We had a line. There was only 45 people in the room. That's it. That was all that was at that second seminar. So 45 people in the room. And we just say, we finished the first day and I said, hey, listen, you might think this is weird. And that's okay. We might be people of completely different faith, but Mona and I are going to be in the back. And if you want someone to just like pray a blessing over you or want someone to pray with, we're here. Big old line, 45 people total in the event. We were up till 2:30 in the morning that very first night praying for people. My heart was just blown away. So overwhelmed with crazy joy. God, you're using a filthy woman. And you've given me the privilege of having the desire of my heart to see people to come to know you, to be able to boldly share my faith without fear, to be able to be bold in raising up a people in the marketplace with your principles that never fail. Listen, during this week of Hanukkah, what you think is impossible, I might not think is impossible. What I think is impossible, you might not think is impossible. So whatever you think is impossible, that's between you and your God. And I want to tell you, he is the creator of the heavens and the earth, and there's nothing impossible for him. Absolutely nothing. I don't care what it is that you're facing, especially in your career. That if there's a desire in your heart concerning your career, bring that before him. Ask him and continue to ask and continue to believe and continue to press him about it. And I promise you, he is going to move. Millions of lives, my friend, have been changed. Millions upon millions of lives have been impacted because of this desire that he planted inside of my heart, and he made the way for the desire. And he's going to make the way for your desire. Stop coddling your excuses. Stop putting your faith in your excuses and start putting your faith in your God. And start choosing joy over depression. Start choosing faith over inaction and over fear. Start choosing joy. Joy. Because the joy of our God is our strength. So if he can dig me out of a deep depression and a pit, not once, not twice, but many times, and if he could allow me to have this crazy, wild idea, someone who's not qualified on all counts, to be able to do something that I was so passionate about and desired so desperately, that he would make a way for that, what can he make a way for you? He will. He plays no favorites. He plays absolutely no favorites. So during this week of miracles, the celebration of Hanukkah, dedicating ourselves to him as we are the temple of the Holy Spirit and celebrating the miracles he has done in the Bible, but also in our own lives. Tonight, I want you to think about what kind of miracles has he produced for you in your business or in your career that you've long forgotten about, that you just haven't really cared about, that you've just been like, oh, well, whatever. No, come on, think about it. Think about it. Write it out tonight. And what are you going to believe moving forward? Thanks so much for joining us. Please share this video. Somebody else has to hear this message. Someone's going to get inspired, and who knows, maybe they'll start some crazy thing, and who knows, they might change the world. Thanks so much. God bless.
If this episode was an encouragement to you, go to DannyJohnson.com and share it with your friends now. You never know who else needs to hear it. This has been The Danny Johnson Show. Join us every weekday at 7 a.m. for more insights that will help